We beat in the past, but we don't look back. There's 11 on the pitch, but I'm the 12th man. Give it to Sterling, give it to Foden, deliver to the bottom postman. Keep our heads up and always keep going. All it takes is one little moment. Now we're in the pub, we're singing like a choir. For our slab, that's Harry Maguire. This is it now, lads. We're gonna get through like 66. Don't forget 2022.
Hey, football's coming over again. It's coming over again. Hey, football's coming over again. It's coming over again.
It's coming. It just might be coming.
Coming in good. Let's get double line here.
And Wembley licks it.
Who's this ringing me now? Hello? Well, get down up, pop this kid down with Ivan. Southgate's bringing it home. Right, I'm on my way.
We're in the booze house, getting the pints up. That's what I'm telling you now, they ain't not gonna win. We got Southgate in these ways, so sunset off the line, bring the fucking trophy home. And we give the ball to Grealish. We're gonna win, I feel it. He crosses it to Harry Kane and he goes and scores again. Let's have no more use of pain. It's coming over again. Hey, football's coming over again. It's coming over again.
Maguire is done it.
We've got Saka, we've got Foden. With them on the ball, we'll beat them all. Yeah, we show them. We've got Declan Rice winning the. So guys, are you watching the match tonight? Because I am later on. And yeah, so let's get into it. Put some music on again. All night, we won't go down without a fight. This is our time, and we give the ball to Grealish. We're gonna win. It crosses it to Harry Kane, and he goes and scores again. Let's have no more use of pain. It's coming over again. Hey, football's coming over again. It's coming over again. Hey, football's coming over again. It's coming over again. Sterling running down the line while the whole country's singing Sweet Caroline. Girls drinking like a fool's having a good time. Where the boys in the pub slipping all the lines. So we partied all day, we partied all night. Partied until we see the sunrise. And you know everything's gonna be alright. And you know this is our time.
Let's bring it on like Big John brings the Chinese home on a Saturday night. Came to the boys, got Saka to his right, but he puts his top in. It's a hell of a sight. We do it for the country, do it for the flag, for the Sunday roast, for the pie and match. We beat in the past, but we don't look back. There's 11 on the pitch, but I'm the 12th man. Give it to Sterling, give it to Foden, deliver to the box like a postman. Keep our heads up and always keep going. All it takes is one little moment. Now we're in the pub, we're singing like a choir. For our slab, that's Harry Maguire. This is it now, lads. We're gonna get through like 66. Don't forget 2022.
Hey, football's coming over again. It's coming over again. Hey, football's coming over again. It's coming over again.
It's coming. It just might be coming.
Coming in good. Let's get double line here.
And Wembley licks it.
Who's this ringing me now? Hello? Well, get down up, pop this kid down with Ivan. Southgate's bringing it home. Right, I'm on my way.
We're in the booze house, get the pints in. Put your legs on, I'm telling you now, they ain't the.
Oh. Might just started already. Fucking hell. It should be at the 7 o'clock, not 6 o'clock. No, until. Let me check on my fucking app. If it's fucking started. Not fucking started yet. It's not started yet! It's only 7 o'clock it started. It's not, it's 6 o'clock. Fuck. What? We'll do it then. Oh, full shit. Oh, yeah. Fuck you, no. Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 6:05 p.m.
See, it's 6, you fucker. It's 6. Go away. I don't play football. Yeah. I don't play football. You like league? What the fuck is going on to it? Fucking thing. Look, it's not started at 7 o'clock. 19 p.m. What's that one on? There. Yeah. 7 o'clock, I thought. Where's your sports trainers? Don't forget it's thing, yeah. The time. I'm not in here. Stop while not in here. Fucking hell! Not telling you deaf person. I'm not the fucking deaf person. Fucking that is. You are. Fuck off. So is you. I don't bed. What? I don't bed. I don't know. Fuck off. You dick, y'all. Yeah, I'm sweating. Sweating, you're 19. Are you going to double down? I got fucking iPhone. Get some more socks. Oh, she needs a thing up. I think you can suck to that somewhere. Eh? I've got some of these.
to the start. Waller Hilly is jam-packed. And away we go. 3 Lions, 1 Dragon. He serves up the step of legend. Drop to the floor. Kane finds Lallana. Sterling heads into the box for him. And Sterling can't keep it down. Rooney's reciprocated a little too keenly. Free kick for one. Sturridge scores! Injury time! It's England's this time! Talk about passion! Talk about pride! It means everything. It's a win for St George and defeat for the Dragon.
I've been watching from afar and I wasn't involved with England and I was watching Wales play some other opponent. I felt very sorry for them, but they'll have to excuse me for...
Our work rate, our endeavour is higher than the opponent, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be the case.
Best of luck tonight.
Thank you very much.
Kelly Summers talking to Gareth Southgate, Danny Gabidon and Jermaine Genius of the commentary team on BBC One. If you want to watch on the television, it's a 7 o'clock kickoff. Micah Richards, part of our team here as well. Jermaine, Harry Kane against the USA dropped deep. We watched the game together, dropped deeper and deeper. When we were having a chat yesterday with Didier Drogba, we took, just pick that name up for me, Micah. We were talking
next to Micah's Olympic shout, we
were talking about how if he does drop deeper, then the other two at either side of him have to somehow replicate what the Tottenham wide men do. One of which is Son. Can Rashford do that?
Rashford 100% can do that. I don't. It's one of those with Harry Kane. I don't know whether it's kind of avoiding the fact that he's not played well, really, in the 2 games that he's played for England. I think there's sometimes a bit of a thing with Harry where we tend to look at everything else apart from what he's doing. I think, don't get me wrong, when he drops deep and he plays those passes, it's not like he's dropping deep and he's hitting passes and we're going, where's the runner? He's dropping deep and not really hitting those passes that we see him hit week in, week out. But maybe it's because he hasn't got someone like Son flying through the middle of the pitch. And today, I think on one side with Foden, he won't probably do that. So with Rashford, there's no doubt that he is that type of player that can just run right through the heart of a team and really destroy you. So I think Harry Kane will enjoy that. But Saka can do it as well, and Sterling can do it. They just haven't been doing it as much.
And how much, you both have to go, so final one, Danny, how much would that worry you if he does drop deep?
Yeah, of course. As JJ said, we know how good Harry Kane is. He's a terrific footballer when he drops into those areas. He's capable of playing those kind of killer passes. So from a Wales point of view, that becomes that kind of box four, the 2 centre-backs and the 2 midfielders in front. There's got to be a lot of kind of communication. The positioning needs to be good. When Harry's dropping in there, can that information be passed on to a Joe Allen or an Ampadu to kind of pick him up and stop him doing that? Because, as JJ said, Rashford, he wants to do that all day long. He wants to get in behind defence. He's capable of getting on the ball and as well. And Foden will also do what Harry Kane does as well. He'll get into those pockets and he'll look to dance past players and play those clever passes as well. So they've got so many talented players, England. So from a defensive point of view for Wales, they have to be absolutely spot on in this game to get the result we need.
Thank you both for joining us. Go well. Hope you both enjoy it. Hope you get a seat, Danny, as well. In that commentary box, Jermaine Genius, Danny Gabidon, the BBC commentary team. For tonight, Juliet is pitch side for us. Jules?
Yeah, behind me a couple of Welsh fans are currently draping the Dragon over to St George, which isn't going down too well amongst the England fans. That's where I am right now. The red wall is opposite me. Jordan Pickford is going through his warm-ups on his own, goes through his drills separately with a member of the goalkeeping coach here, goalkeeping team with England. I've got Nick Pope in front of me. We're still waiting for the England outfield players to come and join. Obviously, you mentioned that Wales are out there already going through their warm-ups, and there are a couple of lions behind me. And I say a couple of lions, they're dressed as lions. In this weather, it's going to be really hot and sticky, and they've gone full face paint as well. And the photographers behind me are having an absolute laugh with them as they're trying to get that picture that they want to show that these two guys. But I'm not too sure the face paint is going to last in an hour's time or where it's going to be, because I would imagine it's going to be dripping off their faces.
Thanks, Jules. Wales are out very, very early, aren't they, Mike? Although England have come out late, or well, relatively late in all three of these World Cup games so far.
Yeah, I think they're just fully focused on the task ahead. I think that they know they've got to put in a big performance. And certain managers like you out early, and certain managers like you out a little bit later. I always used to go out a little bit too early, to be honest, because I struggled from a lot of muscle injury, so I used to get really warm before I went out. And I think it's just preference, I think.
Hang on, you would go out before the rest of the team?
Yeah, well, if you watch, you know, you're doing match of the day. You see me out there early doors, but you're too busy watching NFL or whatever you do.
Strangely enough, your warm-up routine doesn't really stick in my memory from your days at Aston Villa, which is very much the same for the Villa fans as well, I think. Right, let's switch our attention to USA against Iran, and to help us build up this game, we're going to bring in the team from America.
Americast. Live from Qatar.
Listen, we support Iran people and Iran's team. You say you support the Iranian people, but you're pronouncing our country's name wrong. Our country is named Iran, not Iran. My apologies on the mispronunciation of your country. Carlos Queiroz is a guy that I grew up admiring. This is our mission in football.
Well, we can talk to a couple of the Americast team now. Anthony Zerka, BBC's North America correspondent, and Mariana Spring, BBC's disinformation and social media correspondent. This game and this press conference is played against the background of a political history that you could spend hours talking about, couldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'd say U.S.-Iran relations, since the U.S. became a global power after World War II, have been turbulent, occasionally swinging in open hostility. And the U.S. and Iran were once allies in the region right up until the 1979 Islamic Revolution, which was kind of fueled by anger over U.S. and Western influence in Iranian domestic politics. The U.S. supported a coup in Iran in 1953 to overthrow a nationalist leader. And since then, the U.S. has treated Iran as an antagonist in the oil-rich region. Iran has called the U.S. The Great Satan. And while there have been peace overtures at times, diplomatic overtures, there are definitely domestic forces, both in the U.S. and in Iran, who see such moves with extreme suspicion.
So what has been the reaction in America to the American head coach, to a player in Tyler Adams, having to speak so much about Iran in the build-up to their game, as in Iran, the country and the regime, not the football team?
I think there's a certain amount of frustration from the American fans who just want this to be about sport. There's certainly people in the United States who kind of want to play off the U.S.-Iran rivalry and want to make this a bit more of a political event.
He handled them very well, didn't he, Anthony, actually? And it was exacerbated for him because the US soccer team's Twitter account removed the Islamic Republic symbol from the Iran flag.
Yeah, they definitely threw fuel on the fire of making this into a larger political kind of a debate. And I think there may be some frustration among the U.S. players that they have to deal with this because of what the U.S. Soccer Federation did. But, you know, American sports stars are used to talking about politics.
Mariana, from your role as disinformation and social media correspondent. Are you able to tell, just going back to Iran, I'm sitting in the same stadium where Iran beat Wales a few days ago, which was a very emotional afternoon. The Iran crowd was huge, men, women and children, all in the stadium supporting Iran. Are you able to tell what, if any of that, has got back to the people in Iran?
It's a really good question, and it kind of tells us about how certain regimes and countries can restrict what people in them are seeing on the telly and over the radio, but also on social media. And I think when it comes to Iran, there's no question that there have been attempts to limit the visibility of protest movement, and a lot of their matches, which I've been watching a lot as a consequence. There have been some really emotional displays. There was the team not singing the national anthem. There have been, like you say, people in tears in the crowd, and fans waiting outside and then coming in afterwards. And it's that kind of stuff that goes very viral on social media, but that isn't necessarily readily available to people in Iran, and certainly not via the official channels and broadcast or otherwise where they can get their news. And so a bit like in Russia and in other places, they rely on other social media apps.
Oh, what a
So,
shot!
it's interesting. The only other time the U.S. played Iran in the World Cup was 1998, which was, of course, before social media had its influence over global politics. And that match was much more about U.S. versus Iran and the idea of clash of longtime antagonists. And the Iranian players were much more nationalistic and viewed it in a nationalistic sort of way. So, I think now you have a much more kind of a nuanced political environment where Iranians are dealing with their own domestic issues, and that's playing out on the Iranian side. And it's not just this clear-cut U.S. versus Iran kind of a face-off.
That was Anthony Zerka and Mariana Spring from Americast, which you can listen to on BBC Sounds. Just over half an hour to go to kick off here at the Ahmad bin Ali Stadium. England now out warming up. Wales have been out for some time. Let's go outside the stadium. Della Lloyd is there.
Hi Mark, there's a really good atmosphere outside the Ahmed bin Ali Stadium. I've been here for around an hour and a half, and as you'll know, when you depart the metro at Al Riyadh, the first thing you see is the stadium. I was here in daylight when Wales played Iran on Friday, but it looks something else in the night sky because the perimeter of the stadium is lit up with the Wales and England flags, and it's something else, I must admit. But the fans outside have been absolutely brilliant. The Welsh and English fans have been posing for photos, some of them photo-bombing each other's pictures, but it's all done in jest. There are so many red shirts swamped around me here of the Welsh shirt, the England shirts as well. There's a face paint stand. I've seen children getting their face painted with the St George's flag and the Red Dragon of Wales as well. We've had drummers outside. We've had a brass band even. But the general feeling has been one of positivity. I've spoken to England fans today who are from all over: Plymouth, Weston-super-Mare, Leicester, Leeds, and the Wales fans as well. They come from all over Wales. I've spoken to a couple from Honback and even Eglwys Park in North Wales. And the English fans that I've been speaking to aren't necessarily confident that England are going to get a very comprehensive win. And some of the Wales fans are positive they can maybe look at 1-0 win. Other Welsh fans I've spoken to say there's no chance, but they're just happy to be here. But there's plenty of excitement, and it's all friendly rivalries outside. I've seen an England fan pushing a pram as well. There's no denying that baby in that fan is going to remember any of this. They'll have to tell her or him about it when they're older. But yeah, it's a real great buzz outside. It's what the World Cup's all about. All the fans are posing for photos, and they're starting to make their way into the stadium. I'm sure, as you've noticed, it'll be starting to pick up in the next 10 or 15 minutes or so. But it's a sea of colour outside the Ahmed bin Ali Stadium market, and I can't wait to get inside either.
Thank you very much, Della. Let's bring in Jane Ludlow once again, former Wales player and manager, and Nathan Blake has joined us as well, who's part of the BBC Wales team here. Jane, let's just expand on that point I was talking to Danny Gabidon about Kiefer Moore and whether he can be as much of a nuisance against a sort of domestic defence, a Premier League defence.
Yeah, there were two areas, wasn't there? There was Kiefer Moore and Joe Allen the chat was about. And look, Kiefer needs service. I don't disagree with that. He's there to do a job in that 6 yard and be there at the right time when the deliveries come in. So we do have to be good with our deliveries when we get the opportunities. But to be honest, the key man for me is still Joe Allen. And you spoke about how good he is in possession. For me, he's in the team tonight to be that rock in front of the back line defensively, to make sure he protects the back line, especially on turnovers and transitions. Because in the game so far in this tournament, that's where we've looked really vulnerable. When there's a turnover, people have broke quickly against us. We haven't had a midfield screen in front of the back line, and we've put our back line under all sorts of pressure. So for me, Joe Allen's going to be key to this game tonight.
Yeah, I totally agree, Jane. How are you doing, by the way? It's Nathan. I think, I said on Radio Wales, I must sound like a scratch record.
Harry Maguire.
Wales just
Harry
Maguire. So many times. I couldn't actually believe what I was watching at times. And then when they went down to 10 men, it went to like a 4-1-4. It was just crazy. And Joe just thinks differently. Ethan was left in there a lot on his own. Aaron and Harry were trying to burst forward at times, and Aaron sometimes was playing in the front line. And it was just ill-disciplined for me. So, you need that sort of defensive-minded midfielder who's going to sit in front of the back four or back three, who thinks worst-case scenario rather than I just want to get forward.
The other thing that was very noticeable in that Iran game, bearing in mind how much
Get off the
ball
fucking
USA
stage, you
problems
fucking
when
cunt.
it came on at half time, was actually how little Wales got the ball into the box to it. I know in the second half they didn't have much of the ball, but in the first half when they did, I can only think of one cross that he managed to get himself on the end of.
Yeah, that was the sort of a diving volley,
Yeah,
right?
it was,
And
yeah.
with his right foot. And there was opportunities to put the ball in the box, Mark, but there was poor quality there. There was time on the ball to put good crosses in at times, but the quality wasn't good enough. But also, I think what's a huge part and parcel of Wales' play is holding up the ball, not just in and around the box, it's halfway line. Because for me, you almost have to play on that counter-attack today. You can't afford to go gun-ho. You can't afford to go pressing because, as we've seen the previous two games, our legs are struggling. So if you go chasing the ball for 20 minutes against these players, these English players who are used to playing that high tempo, playing against that high press in the Premier League, they will cut you apart. It's as simple as that. So for me, they've got to play on the counter-attack, and that hold-up play by Kiefer is hugely important.
And actually, in the same way we talked about Harry Kane with the two men either side of him, you could have a similar conversation, couldn't you, Jane, about Kiefer Moore and how he could bring in, Dan James in particular and his pace.
Yeah, and that's where we've had success in the past. Hi Nathan, by the way. I completely agree with the thoughts that's just been shared. I'd anticipate tonight it's going to be a case of us, whether it's a 5 or a 4 in the back line, doesn't really matter right now. I think our pressing line is going to be fairly deep, I'd imagine, so that we then look to exploit the space that's left on the counter-attack and hope that people like Dan James in particular have worldy for us. And to be fair, in previous games that I can reflect on now, he has been that world-class player when we are countering effectively, and hopefully he can have a good game tonight for us.
How do you defend against Kiefer Moore, Micah?
No, I was watching him a lot for Bournemouth, and I was trying to figure this out because, like we all suggested tonight, he's very good holding up the ball. But what he does very well, he hangs up the back post. So like when you see Mitrovic doing that, and he just times his run perfectly. I think you just got to stop him before he gets up early. Look, Harry Maguire was excellent last game against USA in the air, so he's gonna have a challenge against Maguire tonight. But it's just stopping him in his tracks early. I don't think he's going to outrun our defence, to be honest. So if he drops into little pockets, probably let him have the ball and then just keep an eye on him when the ball's coming to the box.
I can't work, the noise you can hear is the England team being put on the big screen, but I actually can't work out whether it's being cheered or booed, to be honest with you. There was a boo when it started, but now it's more being cheered, I think. Iran dealt really well with Kiefer Moore, I thought. They had one centre-half who went up for the header with him. The other centre-half dropped off for if he flicked it on. And their deepest midfielder, their defensive midfielder, just sat in front of him for if it came back. So they negated him, really, in open play.
That's international football, man. It's as simple as that, especially when you play one up front. At this level, that's what happens. You don't need two of you to be flat. You don't need the challenge.
You don't need to win the ball in front. One go and challenge, because you'll win your fair share. You know, no matter who you are, you win your fair share of headers at this level, and one drop off. So any flick-ons or anything like that, it kills. It's a nightmare for a striker. And then your touch has to be perfect, right? Because the lad challenging you, if the touch is not perfect, then the holding midfield just gets involved and makes it off you. So, you know, when you play that lonesome role, you are looking for runners in behind you, runners off you. So your best bet is to try and either chest it off, flick it on, you know, if you can't get over it, one touch, two touch, lay it off and spin. But, you know, your touch has got to be perfect, really and truly.
Some great individual battles, aren't there, across this pitch, which is what you're going to get, Jane, with a derby. I mean, the fullbacks and their battles against the respective wide men are really, I find really interesting. You know, Nico Williams against Phil Foden, Ben Davis against Marcus Rashford, and then at the other end, you've got former teammates against each other in Kyle Walker and Gareth Bale, and Luke Shaw and Dan James.
Yeah, it's going to hopefully be an intriguing game, but I'll be honest, and whether Nathan agrees with me on this, I don't know, but I'm a little bit nervous.
I'm not sure I've ever seen Nathan nervous, really. It's just, you know, it takes everything.
Trying to be cool, isn't it?
Take everything in your stride, Nathan.
Absolutely, Mark, absolutely.
Are you
Anything can
nervous?
happen. No, I'm not nervous about it. I really ain't.
You didn't say that to me before half an hour ago.
Listen, I think if I'm looking at the day, for me, across the back line, Walker's just come back in. I thought Trippier had been tremendous, by the way. And he's put a lot of good crosses in. He's been brilliant on the attack. So that's a bit of a risk there. But also for me, it's John Stones setting up your play has been absolutely outrageously good. Right, a lot of his passes into, you know, your midfield and whatever have been brilliant. But I think it's, for me, I'll be thinking, well, I'm going to play on Harry Maguire, no disrespect, and I'm going to be asking Dan James to run in behind as much as possible. Or for Dan, come off this right flank from time to time and get across Harry Maguire and just try and utilize the pace.
The only thing I would say, Jane, is you seem to put a bit more oomph into the high five you gave me earlier, and I've only just managed to put my elbow back into its socket. It was that hard. But let's hear from the Welsh head coach. Here's Rob Page with Catherine Heller.
Rob, you've made 3 changes, also a change in formation. Talk us through your thinking.
Yeah, it's a must-win game for us. You know, we've got to rely on the other result as well. So, you know, if it is going to be our final game, then at least we'll have rolled our sleeves up and had a go. So it's a brave decision, but it's one that we want to go out and have a go.
Bale and Ramsey both start, despite recent speculation. Was it an easy decision?
Yeah, for me, yeah, they're still, you know, world-class players. At any moment can change the game. As a team, we haven't performed to our capabilities up to now, not just the individuals. So we take that full responsibility, myself included, and we hope tonight now we can put a performance in that our supporters will be proud of.
What have you asked those senior players to bring tonight to this game?
Again, just the quality that they always bring. You know, they inspire all the lads in the changing room. Any moment they can produce something of class for us. And lead by example and go, and we need energy on the pitch as well. And Daniel James is back in the team because he gives us that, and the success that we had playing this way a couple of years back, they can, you know, relate to that and how we used to play.
And you said yesterday that you wanted this side to wear their big boy pants. You've just come from the changing room. Everybody back home in Wales will be wondering, are they on?
They're on, absolutely. Yeah, they are. Yeah, and that's for the team selection. That's the shape. You know, we want to roll our sleeves up and have a go tonight and give our supporters something to be proud of.
I'm not going to ask a follow-up question about big boy pants. Trust me, Nathan.
White prints. What are big boy pants? White prints. Big, massive white prints.
Yeah. As I said, I'm not going to go down that. You know, we may be after the watershed out here and approaching 10 o'clock. We have to remember it's not yet even 7 o'clock back in the UK. Jane, is this the? And maybe it does depend on tonight's result, I don't know. Is this the end of an era or the start of an era?
Oh, what a great question. Oh, in many ways, it's an end of an era, isn't it? Because, well, mind you, I'm saying that and I'm questioning myself because it makes it sound like there's negative things in the future. Look, we've had a great spell with the players we've had, particularly, you know, Bale and Ramsey and that generation. It's been a fantastic kind of last 10 years to live through being a Welsh football fan. Now, the challenge is what's next, and I don't know, if I'm honest. And Nathan might have a bit more insight here than I do, but I am a little bit. I guess I'm going to acknowledge there's going to be a transition period. So it's probably not going to be when we come out of this tournament now, we go into the next qualifying campaign. Are we going to still be on that high? Probably not. There's going to be younger players coming in and having moments to actually learn international football. So that's what I'm expecting. I could be wrong, and it could be actually keep on the trend. But I'm expecting a bit of a transition period over the next few months.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're in transition regardless, right? I think if you look at Aaron and Gareth, who've been so often our match winners in the past, we know they're not at their best or where they were 4 or 5 years ago. So, you have to start to think of the future. And I think the difficulty for us is having those players a couple of players who are world class, because I think people forget that Gareth Bale at one time was probably rated top 5 best players in the world, and that world where people getting to this stage as towards the twilight end of their careers, as we know. But I don't think those players will retire. I think they'll leave themselves open for selection. But you have to start to think, right, what's next? And the likes of Brennan Johnson, the Ruben Colwells. I think it's so important for someone like Ruben Colwell, who's at Cardiff City. Players like him have to be developed. He's been messed around a bit, if I'm totally honest, Mark, at Cardiff City. But for international football, they're little rough diamonds. You need to polish them up, and you need to give them the playing time and the experience to be able to come and cope, to be able to get to tournaments like this. So definitely in transition over the next 12, 18 months, I would say. And fingers crossed sort of thing.
However, what they have done, Wales, is that they've still got that decent world ranking, which is important. So the draw for the next Euros, where Wales are in with Croatia, Armenia, Turkey, and Latvia, and maybe Turkey will be on the up again. I don't know, but I think that's a group when 2 teams qualify automatically. You've certainly got a chance there. And of course, the next World Cup with 48 teams, you'd be rather disappointed. I think whoever you are, that you don't get to get to that World Cup.
Yeah. Get it.
That's a little patronising English message to you then. You'll be all right, Ed. If there's 48 at the next World Cup, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Come and join the party then.
Yeah. I'll speak to you from studio next time, right?
You'll be there, Nathan. You'll be there.
I'm sure we will.
We'll be in Monterey together.
Nathan, thank you.
Thanks,
we will maybe talk later. Nathan, part of the BBC Wales team here today. Back to Jules. Pitchside. It's very difficult in these games, Jules, to gauge a temperature because of air conditioning systems and so on and so forth. Jordan Pickford looked warm as he came off from his warm-up. That's all I noticed.
Jordan Pickford almost took out a volunteer with one of his goal kicks as well when he was going through his warm-ups, which he thought that was quite amusing, to be honest. I'm not sure the person who it almost hit thought it was that funny, but absolutely belted that one over there by mistake. But the fans, they're certainly piling in now. And it certainly feels that there are a lot more England fans here behind me and in and around this stadium than there were for the USA game. Opposite me, the red wall looks like it's filling up nicely as well. There are some Scotland fans in there, by the way, because I know that I spoke to them, and they're wearing the Welsh shirts, and they've also got their flags draped over as well. The pitch is being watered. The fans, there is one fan as well, an England fan who's got a World Cup with him, and he is absolutely loving the attention that he's getting right now from the photographers. They're still looking around, though, for that perfect shot amongst the fans. They've got the Lions. The Lions have got the World Cup now with the face paint. And if you think it looked hot, I dread to think how hot it is in that costume. But actually, they stopped watering the pitch now. I can see the World Cup in the distance, the big, huge World Cup that will be wheeled out shortly. And the flags have been carried out behind me. And actually, they're making their way onto the pitch now as well. And they must weigh an absolute ton with the amount of people that have to carry them, as they will be unveiled as we go through the pre-match for this game between Wales against England.
Yeah, right behind that goal, away to our left, which is where all the Wales fans are. Right, directly behind, right in the middle of the goal, on the stadium wall behind, is a Scottish flag, and there are 2 Scottish flags in amongst all the Welsh flags at that end. Let's head back to the UK. go to a couple of fan parks there to find out what the atmosphere is like. We'll start in Swansea. Mark Hutchings there for us.
Yes, and you come at an appropriate time as O'Heed is blaring out here. I think all the rest of the Welsh fans are here at the Swansea fan zone. Well, I think about 2,000 have called in to this specially built arena. There are rows and rows of fucking mats. I think they've done, let's be honest, O'Heed is blaring out here. I think all the rest of the Welsh fans are here at the Swansea fan zone. Well, I think about 2,000 have called in to this specially built arena. There are rows and rows of fucking mats. I think they've done, let's be honest, more in hope and expectation after such a disappointing performance against Iran. But, well, Wales as a nation has waited 64 years to be in the World Cup. This World Cup could be over after 3 games, or who knows? It might not be. A win and a draw elsewhere, or a 4-0 win with loads of goals from the Welsh might just secure it. There are those who believe, just listen to how much they believe.
Some atmosphere there at the moment. Let's head to Bristol next, and Dan Johnson at a fan park there.
Yeah, I'm in the bars beneath the stands at Bristol City's Ashton Gate ground. It's filling up here. There are a few thousand fans packing in tonight. The bars are busy and the mood is buoyant, it's confident. There is expectation that England should easily manage to get past Wales this evening. But I think perhaps not as much confidence as there would have been because of that pitiful performance on Friday night. That dull performance from England has perhaps just put a seed of nervousness, tension that often accompanies many England games into some fans tonight. They want to see a bolder, more attacking England. I think people are pleased to see that Gareth Southgate made some changes to the lineup. They want to see more confident management decisions tonight on the pitch, not just so that England overcome Wales, but so that England look like a team that can go further, can succeed in the further rounds of this tournament. But I was talking to one fan earlier who said he regards this as a local derby because they're so close here to Wales, just across the Bristol Channel, and he thinks Gareth Southgate is an innately cautious manager and that England might perhaps just play for the draw tonight. But either way, that would be enough to get them through. There is expectation that England should do this fairly easily.
Thank you very much, Dan. Just to remind you how group positions are decided here. And the other game in this group tonight is USA against Iran. Both can still qualify there. So points, obviously, first of all. Goal difference, second. Goals scored, third. Head-to-head, fair play, the discipline, and then they would draw lots. I don't think we're going to get down to number 6, although they may be famous last words. Matt Upson back with us, part of our commentary team here. Do you expect both sides to be cautious at the start?
I'm not sure if it will be. I think it could be quite frantic, if I'm honest. I think it's got that kind of English football Premier League feel, and it might start at a bit of a pace, to be honest. I mean, you can still be cautious and be high tempo in terms of how many players you do throw forward, but I expect it to be potentially a bit of a feisty affair.
England players, Jane, talked about Scotland at the Euros and how they were noticeably, in their words, I think, more energetic, shall we say, in that Scotland-England game than Scotland's game before that England game and the one after that England game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Look, if we turn up and produce a little bit more energy tonight, then every Welsh fan will be happy. Because I think that's been a big issue for us as a team. We've looked sluggish. We haven't been at the races, and even if that happens tonight, then all the people in the red shirts at the game and all the Welsh fans will be proud of the lads for going out there and competing. And that's not us being I guess negative about the next 90 minutes that are about to happen. It's just being realistic. I'd love to think that we can come out with the result today. But
is that just adrenaline? Do you think that's just adrenaline? Because there might be some people who then go, well, why didn't you do that against Iran? Or why didn't you do that for the full 90 minutes against the USA? Why did it take till half time?
Well, look, the boss has come out and given an explanation for some parts of it, whether it was nerves, etc. But you can look at tactical decisions, you can look at structure, you can look at the opponents and what they brought to us as well. And there were some impressive moments from the teams who actually we competed against. The tempo from Iran, for example, was very different. And you could look at, being shell-shocked to a certain extent with what we came up against. And then we could question prep, etc. And could that have been different? And I'm sure the coaches would have been doing that all the way through the last week or so. But the one thing that we expect as a nation tonight is for the guys to step on the pitch and compete and work extremely hard, because they're going to have to. Reality check tonight, they're going to have to if we're going to try and get anything out of this game.
Do you find, Micah, in these discussions that it's all one way when we talk about it being a derby, or the extra adrenaline or the extra energy? And that might be in all sorts of this, not just football, every nation wants to beat, every home nation wants to beat England in the Six Nations. It might be like Ireland's men beating England in the T20 World Cup. Is it one way in a lot of sports that everybody's out to beat England?
I think it is one way, because if you look at the amount of the light that gets shone on the English team, obviously the England team compared to the Welsh team, no respect to Wales, England have the greater players, and everyone always wants to be the better team no matter what sport it is. And I do feel a little bit for Wales, because what they've done over this last couple of years has been incredible. Getting the Euros was absolutely brilliant, and just making it to the World Cup with the squad that they have. And I think they do need a lot of credit for that. And I think the fans, especially the Welsh fans tonight, just want to see them go out there, have fun, give 100% and leave everything out on the pitch.
From your international experience, Matt, it's obviously a good thing that England have all but qualified for the English. But given that their performances are poured over and poured over, I wonder whether it's a slight negative that they've all but qualified.
I don't think it matters.
Do you know?
Game like this. No, I don't think it matters. You're in the tunnel, you're thinking about the game. All you're thinking about, chappers, are your world-class basics and how you're going to perform today. Your mentality, your passing, your touch, your tackling, your aggression. All of the rest of it, for me, doesn't matter at this moment in time. This is a game against Wales in the World Cup in Qatar. I mean, it's crazy, really. So you have to fall back on the things that are going to get through your game. Worrying about or thinking about those things, it really doesn't matter in my view.
I just wanted to ask you, man, when you was playing for England and when you was going out in big competitions or just a big game for England, did you care more about just playing well yourself, or did you care more about what the team was going to do?
I actually think that you have to think about your own game before, and the team one then just follows naturally. Because if you start thinking about playing for the team, you'll then start to picture maybe letting the team down, or it being the magnitude like that. So taking care of your own house and making sure that's in order is only going to benefit the team. And then I think you can move on from there. But that, for me, is the first port of call.
Jane Ludlow, for the time being, thank you very much. Micah and Matt Upson in the stadium with us. On a monitor, I've got USA, Iran here as well. Those two teams are in the tunnel. The English and the Welsh players are in the tunnel as well. They've just gone through the pre-match routine out in the stadium. The fireworks have gone off around that giant inflatable World Cup. The flags have been unfurled as well. The St George's Cross to the right of me, the Welsh Dragon to the left of me, those Welsh fans away to our left, all on their feet, all in red, singing and applauding. And the English fans now away to our right start to make some noise as well as the teams start to head out of the tunnel. The USA and Iran are on the way out of their tunnel in their game. Qualification up for grabs here. All four countries can still make it through. And their last 16 opponents, we already know, because Netherlands beat Qatar earlier, so the home nation finished with 3 defeats out of 3. Netherlands won the group. Senegal beat Ecuador to finish second. So the group winners here get Senegal. The runners up here get the Dutch in the last 16. The teams are out, led by Gareth Bale and Harry Kane. Let's join Matt Upson and first of all, John Murray.
Thank you, Mark. Yes, a very good evening to you from inside the Ahmed bin Ali Stadium. And we're witnessing here something that has never been seen before at a World Cup. 2 teams from our home nations walking out to take on each other. Gareth Bale at the head of the Welsh side, and Harry Kane leading out England. And they're lined up and ready for two very familiar anthems.
النشيد الوطني لإنجلترا.
So we're ready. There's some tense faces, I must say, while the anthems were being sung around this stadium. They've played each other 103 times before in international football matches, the men of Wales and England, since they first played in 1879. And there's never been one like this. The first time they've played at a World Cup. As I say, the first match between two UK home nations at a World Cup. So it is Wales against England. We've heard the anthems here. The other match in this group, which is absolutely pivotal, because if you don't know, all four teams in this group have a chance to qualify for the last 16 tonight, depending on what unfolds over the next hour and a half plus or so. And Conor McNamara is monitoring the pictures in Iran, USA. So what did you glean from the anthems there, Conor?
Yeah, well, John, look, the huge subplot here, and as you mentioned, it's a huge game in its own right, with both teams having the possibility of going through. But we've had so much of the build-up, the anti-government protests that have been taking place in Iran over recent months. The Iranian players came out, and they all, to a man, visibly sung the national anthem, some maybe mumbling a bit more than others, but certainly a show there that it would be a repeat of last time out against Wales, and that they would sing the anthem. I can't see any clear evidence of Iranian fans coming in late and avoiding the anthem. The seats seem to be pretty much as full as they can be. What I would say, and I think the reaction of this, has been the introduction of vuvuzelas. A lot of vuvuzelas blown during the Iranian anthem, maybe an attempt to drown it out, maybe an attempt to just have a diversion, but a lot of vuvuzelas and drums during the Iranian national anthem. And the USA team, theirs is the youngest starting 11 we've seen at this World Cup so far.
Harry Kane.
Thank you, Conor. So Conor will keep us updated on what's happening in that match between Iran and the United States. Here, Harry Kane and Gareth Bale have just been called back to have their photographs taken with the pennants. And the officials, who are from Slovenia, Slavko Vincic is the referee. The Wales team tonight, just to repeat it, Danny Ward is in goal. So starting at a World Cup for the first time in place of the suspended Hennessy. Back four of Williams, Mepham, Rodon and Davis. And then in midfield, Ampadu and Allen with Ramsey, James, Bale and Moore. The expectation was that Gareth Bale would start on the right-hand side, but we'll see how things settle down. And England with Pickford in goal, 4 changes for England. Walker is in at right back, Stones, Maguire and Shaw, Rice with Henderson and Bellingham, and then Phil Foden and Marcus Rashford starting either side of Harry Kane, the captain. So we are all set. Wales